while. If they waited all the rest of the year, they wouldn't have been able to sign, Rondo because he would have been with another team. Then that's the only recourse. That is the only recourse that they have. The only mulligan they can get is if they land Kawhi, because that would be a good move. But
the one thing, and that's the thing, is they're not going to get Kawhi till next year. There's just no way.
Yeah, totally. And
I just don't see it.
And look, LeBron is one of the top 2 players ever, I think, undoubtedly. But he's going to be 34 in December. And he's going to be playing in his 16th NBA season. That's 16 seasons. And he has played more minutes than anyone in those seasons. He plays about 40 minutes a game still. And look, he's a legend. He's an absolute legend, but he can't stay this way forever. And you can say maybe he has 1, maybe he has 2, maybe he just defies all of science and he has all 4 years as a Laker where he is just the same guy we saw this last year. Then, hey, obviously he earned it and they kept that window open. But everything logical says that he's going to have maybe 1 more year like that year and he's going to start falling off. And
go ahead.
And if LeBron falling off, obviously, is still one of the best players in the league, but it's not going to be the guy that you can stick around 5 guys or 10 guys in that team and have a perennial playoff contender with. If he falls off, they're going to be in a bad spot.
Well, there's one thing I can guarantee, that for the first time in nearly a decade, LeBron will not be in the finals. That's just not going to happen. There's no chance they beat the Warriors to get to the finals.
Right. And the other team
there's just no reason
that was vying for the Warriors spot, I think I have as my worst of the free agency so far is the Houston Rockets. Now, they let Trevor Ariza go, and Trevor Ariza was huge for them. I mean, he is a 3-and-D guy extraordinaire. A guy who can make a bunch of threes, a guy who can play lockdown defense. They let Luke Mbah-a-Moute go, and he was kind of a lesser version of Trevor Ariza, a guy who can make a couple of threes, maybe not very good at threes, but he can play some defense, and he was part of what made their defense really good, although he couldn't hit a damn shot in the playoffs. And then they sign CP3. Now, granted, I love CP3. He's one of my favorite NBA players ever, but he is, 33, 34? They signed him to a 4-year, $160 million deal. And I know they want to go all in for it. And part of that is just, hey, the price of doing business. You're doing business with the NBA Player Association representative. I think he's the president. So he's not going to be a guy who takes a big discount because he wants to set a standard for the rest of the league. He says, he wants to max out his salary so everyone else does the same. But you're not going to be getting $160 million worth of play from CP3 over that course of that contract. And then not only do they do that, but they signed a guy who can't hit a 3, and they are obviously the most 3-happy team in the league, them and Golden State. They signed Michael Carter-Williams, who is a terrible shooter. They might sign Michael Carter-Williams to back up CP3, and if CP3 gets hurt like he always does every single year, Michael Carter-Williams is going to be their starting point guard. And granted, I guess James Harden could do that. They could switch someone else in there, maybe like Eric Gordon. But I don't get it. Letting Trevor Ariza go, and he was unrestricted, so it's not like they had much chance to match it if they couldn't afford it. But letting him go, signing CP3 to such a huge contract, and signing Michael Carter-Williams, and then adding on that, they still haven't signed. Oh my God, what is going on with our recognition of names? Clint Capella. They have not signed Clint Capella yet, which I'm sure they will, but they're going to probably sign him to a huge contract that is probably more than he's worth. And I think Houston, they blew their chance this year. I think that was their chance. Unless somehow they get a superstar. And I know that the rumors are that they want to go after Carmelo. Look, Carmelo is not going to be what puts them over Golden State. I'm sorry. The Thunder have him, and they want to get rid of him as badly as any team wants to get rid of any player in the NBA. So I think they missed their chance, and I think they've had the worst offseason so far. Do you have the Lakers? What do you have as your worst, Bobby?
I'm sorry, you broke up right there. What'd you say?
What would you say is your worst either signing or pair of signings or group of signings for a team in their free agency so far? The one that just left you going, what in the world are they doing? Was it the Lakers' other pickups? Was it Houston? Was it something else?
I think it was the Lakers' other pickups. For me, I think that was the big one. My biggest problem with the postseason is what happened with the Warriors picking up Boogie Cousins, and I won't go too much on that, but for what I want to say is, what prevents someone like, let's say, Joel Embiid, when he becomes a free agent, what prevents him from saying, you know what, screw it, I just want to get a ring for sure, that I can get for sure. How about this? I'll take a $1 million minimum deal, whatever the minimum is. Take $1 million 1 year. I know I'm not going to get paid crap for that year, but I'll definitely get a huge contract after that, and I'll make millions and millions of dollars over the course of my career. What's 1 year only making $1 million? And go to a team like the Warriors and just win rings. Like, it makes the NBA obsolete. It makes it so that there's no point in playing the regular season. That team's going to win no matter what because they have an all-star team as a regular team. That's basically what this Warriors team is turning into, and I just don't think it's right. And I think the NBA needs to get involved because Boogie Cousins taking a tiny contract like that I know he's doing it based off of it's going to be a 1 year deal so that he can prove himself and be able to get the big contract next year because next year is a bigger year for contracts, and this year there really wasn't a market for him because he was coming off the injury. But I just don't like it. It smells fishy. It looks fishy. It is fishy. And it's just a guy trying to chase a ring to get a ring. And I can't blame him for that. It's not his fault. He's a good player that wants to get a ring. But it makes it not fun as a fan to watch. I just don't understand how the NBA doesn't get involved there and at least give us parity in the NBA.
Yeah. I think it just happened to be a combination of things, a combination of the salary cap not allowing a lot of teams to have space to sign Boogie. I think it's the fact that Boogie tore his Achilles and people are afraid of that. I think it's the Lakers being dumb. And I think Boogie just felt so disrespected. He's like, you know what? Screw this league. No one wants to give me a 1 year $10 million deal, a 1 year $12 million deal. You know what? If the Warriors are one of the 3 or 4 teams that are offering me a contract that's around the mid-level, who am I to say no to that? For 1 year, just don't have to come back, rush back from the Achilles injury, get to have as much time as I need to come back 100%, and yes, win a ring. I don't like it. Yes, if Joel Embiid or someone else like that decided to take that, I think the negative consequences of someone who did not come off an injury, someone like Joel Embiid, and say a young guy, young superstar who wants to then join the Warriors for a minimal contract. I think the public outcry from that situation would be so heavy that either one, he wouldn't do it because his PR and his Q rating would drop so far that he would just become the ultimate villain in the NBA. And
but what would he care about that? Because for one, he's going to get his championship no matter what,
right?
And he can just make a huge contract off the belly of that. Like,
but I don't think people. You have to play into the fact that we're like this culture of. Some guys value different things over something else, and I don't think someone like Joel Embiid, and I know you just use him as an example because he's a young superstar, but I don't think he would do it. But I just think there are a lot of risks for a guy like that look how much flack Boogie Cousins is getting. And really, it's not Boogie's fault. It's the fact that the market was so low for him because of, his past attitude issues, plus his Achilles, plus the fact that only 5 teams had a lot of cap space and they didn't want to use it on him. They wanted to try to find other guys. And, one of the teams that did have cap space is Sacramento. They didn't really want to have him back, even though I would have loved that. The Bulls had a lot of cap space, but they're rebuilding. They don't want to, sign a guy to a big contract and have him out of his prime by the time they get ready for their run. So there's only a few teams available, and it would have either been with LeBron in LA, and they didn't go for him. So it's between Boston and Golden State, and he just chose Golden State. If he would have chose Boston, it would have been maybe not the same outcry because they just swept the finals and they have 4 All-Stars already. But Boston is kind of in a similar spot. With Gordon Hayward back and Kyrie Irving back, they could be a 65-win team as well with their young stars. So, it was kind of a meeting of really bad situations, and Boogie tried to make the best of it, and the Warriors pounced that, we're not going to just, if no one wants to compete with us and sign this guy, who are we to say no to the best center in the league? It's crazy. I understand where you're coming from. But I think the NBA, like everyone thinks of the NBA is so analytically driven and everyone is so smart now that, teams barely have other edges against each other. No way. Like Golden State and Boston are so much smarter than the rest of the league that they know how to get things done. And you look at a team like San Antonio, and I think they're that same way as well. And they just happen to look into a really bad situation with Kawhi and who is telling him what to do with his career. But they have run that organization so well the last 25 years. But 20 of the teams in the league, they just don't seem to know what they're doing very well. And I think if they were more well run, they would, one, be better coming into this offseason, and two, they would have had a better shot or would have given a tryout or whatever to Boogie. So, hey, the rich keep on getting richer.
A question I have for you. Have the Cavaliers made any moves since they've lost LeBron?
I've
not seen anything.
I don't think so. They pretty much what they've talked about is the fact that they're now open to trading Kevin Love if the right opportunity comes, and they obviously had the draft where they drafted their new point guard of the future. And I don't think, because they can't, because their cap, they were still over the cap even after LeBron's huge salary left. They're over the salary cap, so they can only use.
How did they mismanage so bad?
Because look, if you can have one stain on LeBron's career, it's the fact that he has mismanaged every team he's been on his cap. He's pretty much forced the Cavaliers to give. Look, the three guys who are making $15+ million on that team. Three of those guys are J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson, and George Hill. Those guys should not be. They should be making like $4 million each. Maybe Tristan Thompson, if he's in a good situation, he's worth maybe 7 or 8. But there's no way J.R. Smith and George Hill. And granted, Cleveland didn't offer that contract to George Hill. They traded for it. But LeBron pretty much forced the Cavs to say, you know what, you're getting Tristan Thompson. You're going to give him $16 million a year over 5 years. And they just got totally screwed by it. So, that's the knock you can have on LeBron, saying he kind of forced the teams he was on to make some bad roster decisions because they were his guys. They were with his agency. And it really, really hampered the futures of those teams. So
that's what scares me for the Lakers. But I think things will be different.
Yeah, well, it hasn't started off so well with the cast of characters they have. So my best of the NBA offseason, I know you hate it and everything, but the Warriors getting Boogie, that's just a shrewd move by the Warriors. So my second best is the 76ers trading, pretty much taking a pick and Wilson Chandler from the Nuggets because the Nuggets didn't want to pay so much of a luxury tax. And Wilson Chandler is a very good forward in this league. And I think he's going to be a good either starter or maybe sixth man for the Sixers. That could be a big piece, for them as they continue to try their ascent up the Eastern Conference. So I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I love that move by them.
Yeah. All right, Bobby. That's NBA talk. Any other NBA controversies or things that you wanna shout off on before we go to break?
I will just say this about the Cavaliers.
Yeah.
I predict they will be the worst team in the league next year.
Interesting. Who do I think is going to be the worst in the league? Take. Yeah, the teams that were really bad last year seem to have gotten, guys who can help either right away or rookies who, in theory, can help them. You're thinking about Phoenix. DeAndre Ayton seems like a rookie who might be able to help right away. Sacramento, they could be towards the bottom again. Memphis, Memphis a lot of injuries, so they could shoot back up. Look, if they go all in, you could say that San Antonio has a real shot to just blow up their team. I don't think they're going to do it because they, Pop only has a couple more years coaching left, and he doesn't want to be on a loser like that. But if they decided to trade Kawhi and then they decide, let's trade LaMarcus too. That would be interesting to see how far down they could go. But yeah, the Cleveland, they definitely have a shot because Kevin Love is not a number one player anymore for a team. He was 5 or 6 years ago, but he's not anymore. So there's Bobby's prediction. Take it to Vegas and do something good with it. All right, when we come back, we got a little bit of World Cup to talk about. Both footballs. So we're going to talk football and football. All right, you got that? Okay. This is Club in the Goods. We'll be back with the last segment of the night. Bobby Goodsby, Alex Klepper. We will be right back.
Say that I never
listening to Clubbing the Goods
on Player Radio.